dress you up.
I told them they couldn't do that, but I guess that's not gonna do any good. Okay. Okay, Melvin. Right there, Melvin. They're passing by that light squares. Okay, Tommy's passing by right now. Uh-huh.
Don't yell at them, please.
Well, it hurt.
Okay, where are the khaki pants?
Girls all the time crying.
Coming down where? I can't see the khaki pants.
We're in the beach.
Beverly, tell me where he's at.
That's a big beach.
I don't see him.
She's crying.
Huh? Oh, I see him.
Where's he
No
at?
way. He's behind. That's not him. That one hit you. Tell me when you see him. She's got to get to the 6th row. He's got to be.
He's got him.
Right there. She's passing the 20-yard line. She's fixing to pass the speaker. She got the hat on back there.
Can you zoom it in, Patsy?
Okay, I'll see it. I could. Well, she's got a blister on it.
Classmates by being elected class president every year since the 8th grade. Will you please stand for the invocation? I welcome you to these commencement exercises for the Rockdale County High School graduating class of 1987. Graduation from high school is an important occasion for our graduates, for their families, their friends, and their guests. In their interest and on behalf of them, we ask that you give them the respect and the dignity and the attention that this occasion deserves. We ask that you please refrain from applause and from outbursts during this program. Our commencement speakers for this evening are valedictorian Jamila Reed and salutatorian Billy Lombard.
The Rockdale County High School class of 1987 is here to take up the challenge of the future. We are about to leave the halls of Rockdale County High School forever. The long hours of hard work, the pep rallies, the homecomings, the games and matches and meets, the senior courtyard, the loves and the friendships, all of the things that have become a part of our everyday lives will soon be a part of the past. Yet the importance of the events and experiences of our high school lives will live in us more than just in our memories. We will not forget the enthusiasm of our teachers and the motivation they gave us. We will not forget the support of our parents and the pride they took in our accomplishments. We will not forget our individual victories or the triumphs of our school as we accomplish the goals we set for ourselves. And most importantly, we will not leave behind the significance and substance of the educational experiences that have been ours in our 4 years at Rockdale, for our education and all that has surrounded it is now as much a part of us as is our very life's blood. Now that we have reached this commencement night, we feel a sense of liberation. We feel free to make our own choices, to face new beginnings, and free to go forward into an undetermined future that it is our responsibility to plan. With this newfound freedom comes challenge. Whether we go from here into college, into the armed forces, or directly into the workforce, each of us will be challenged to be successful. And it is success that we must seek, not fame, for fame may follow only when success has been earned. We will be challenged by a changing world. As the poet Shelley wrote, "Be it joy or sorrow, the path of its departure still is free. Man's yesterday may ne'er be his morrow. Naught may endure but mutability." Change. We must always be ready to accept change and to adapt our lives to those changes. Disappointment will challenge us, for life will not always follow our plans, and we may often find that our desires do not become realities. In these times of disappointment, we cannot drop our heads even for an instant, for it is when we sink to the depths that it is most important to hold fast to our dreams and to strive to move forward. We will be challenged by our own weaknesses that breed mistakes. From Newton's third law of motion, we have learned that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. We must heed the lesson of this law and then develop it even further, not just to overcome our mistakes, but to grow stronger in the process of recovery, and thus be able to move on to higher goals. The class of 1987 stands ready to face the world's challenges, our friendships, our experiences in working and playing together, our education. We are prepared.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is the quest of Don Quixote, a character from the musical The Man of La Mancha, based on Cervantes' masterpiece, Don Quixote. Don Quixote lived by these ideals, and with them he changed the lives of many discouraged people. He believed so deeply in the positive side of life and of people that that side couldn't help but go stronger. Looking at many of the successful people in the world and at some of the hopeless situations they had to resolve on their way to success, I can see the principles of Don Quixote's philosophy at work. To dream the impossible dream. Many dreams seem only dreams, impossible to achieve until someone comes along with so much courage that the goal is accomplished. If Annie Sullivan hadn't believed she could do the impossible, Helen Keller would never have learned to communicate. Miss Sullivan faced a seemingly impossible situation with the attitude that she would succeed, and she did. Right now, it seems as though ending war is the most impossible of all dreams. But if enough people start working on the problem and believing that peace can be achieved, I believe that it will happen. To right the unrightable wrong. Back before the Civil War, the problem of slavery probably seemed like an unrightable wrong to some. But a few courageous abolitionists started working to rescue a handful of slaves at a time on the Underground Railroad. Since then, we have come a long way to stop discrimination. Without the determination of the abolitionists who fought for what they believed in, this change might not have come about. To bear with unbearable sorrow. A few weeks ago, a young woman came to our school to give a talk about drinking and driving. She had been a very happy, outgoing college student, engaged to someone that she loved very much. Then one night, she and her fiancé went out to eat, and each had several drinks. Driving home, she had an accident. Her fiancé was killed. That kind of sorrow, knowing that you were responsible for someone's death, especially for that of someone you love, has got to be the hardest kind to bear. But this woman didn't let the accident ruin her life. She will always have to live with what happened, but now she talks to groups in order to prevent other accidents from drunken driving. Using our sorrow to learn or to help other people can help us to bear it. To fight the unbeatable foe. You have probably heard of Patricia Neal, an American actress who suffered a stroke that left her partially paralyzed, unable to speak, read, or even remember the names of her children. Her doctor said, "She'll live, but I don't know if I've done her a favor." Do you know the story of her recovery? From the minute of her stroke until she was finally able to walk again, her husband, Raoul Dahl, bullied her into caring, watched over her, and made her want to get well. He didn't rest until she was finally able to act again and starred in a new film. All of the people I have mentioned were fighting against monstrous odds. They were dealing with situations that had been diagnosed as hopeless by many others before them. The people in these stories were not saints. They didn't have anything that every person here tonight doesn't have, except perhaps for one thing. They all had the great strength of will and determination to succeed against the odds. We are starting a new stage of our lives tonight, and in the future, all of us will run into problems. These problems may not be as formidable as a stroke, or as heartbreaking as causing the death of a loved one. They may not involve as many people as slavery did, but large or small, we can overcome them if and only if we believe in ourselves. We must say and believe with Don Quixote, "This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know, if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that the world will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man scorned, and covered with scars, still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable stars.
Dr. Phillips, our Superintendent of Schools, Mrs. Boyle, Chairman of the Board of Education, and other members of the Rockdale County Board of Education, I am personally pleased and professionally honored to present to you this graduating class. I certify that each student receiving a diploma has completed the course of study prescribed by the state of Georgia and by the Rockdale County Board of Education. I further certify that each student is free from any encumbrance which would prohibit graduation. Before we present the diplomas, though, I would like to take a point of personal privilege. 4 years ago, this class came to Rockdale County High School as 9th graders. As freshmen, they were nervous, scared, wide-eyed, but they were also eager and willing and capable and curious. At the same time, I came to Rockdale County High School as principal. I too was a freshman of sorts, County High School. They're willing to try that which is new, but they're not willing to lay the old aside completely, because they realize that it takes the lessons of the past and the promise of the future to make the present worthwhile. As this class moved from the 9th grade to the 10th, and on to the 11th, and then this year to the 12th, I learned to depend on the class as a whole, but also on them as individuals. In all aspects of our curricular, extracurricular, and co-curricular activities, this class has led the way for others. They have provided leadership and participation to an extent that will be hard for other classes to match. Yes, this class means a great deal to me. I've told them so on many occasions. And so I salute this class of 1987 as an example of the finest young people that this country has to offer. From the faculty and the staff of Rockdale County High School, we wish you the best that life has to offer and wish you Godspeed as you graduate this evening. Mrs. Irma Killings and Mr. Ray Lapierre, assistant principals, and Mr. Thomas Hickey, vocational supervisor, will assist in the presentation of diplomas. Again, may I remind you of the dignity of this graduation exercise and the respect that our students and their families deserve. We ask that you please do not applaud during this part of our program.
Tammy Louise Adderholt. Jared John Baer. Andrea Gay Armstrong. Charles Christopher Flynn. Jennifer Marie Barrow. William Ryder Hambrick. Christina Elizabeth Bennett. Christopher Allen Johnson. Darcy Melanie Bowen. John Mark Kellerman. Jennifer Joyce Clark. William Frederick Lombard III. Julie Ann Cowan. Daryl Anthony Marlowe. Nancy June Cronin. Brian Allen Massey. John Paul Bennett. Stephanie Lynn Miller. Vince Kevin Bigby. Kimberly Diane New. Michael Craig Black. Daphne Michelle Norton. Rodney Joe Blackwell. Priti Beulah Patel. Richard Cecil Bridges. Melissa Jamila Reed. Earl Franklin Brinkley. Samantha Jane Stevens. Matthew Tracy Brinkley. Pamela Diane Walters. Bobby Christopher Brown. Candace Lee Young. Donald Barkley Brown. Martha Darlene Allen. Donnie Joseph Brown.
Who's that? He worked at Winn-Dixie Bassett.
Pamela Lee Alley.
She works with Winn-Dixie.
Crystal.
Michael Lee Cassee.
Paul Harvey, the commentator, once said, and I quote, "The freedom to achieve is uniquely..."
Andrea Armstrong will lead her classmates in this tradition. We know that a number of you, parents, guests, friends, graduated from Rockdale County High School due to join them in singing the alma mater. Ladies and gentlemen, the graduating class of 1987